Have you ever noticed that as we get older, the urge to share every detail of our lives with our family feels stronger than ever? We often believe that being completely open and transparent is always the right choice. After all, these are the people we love and trust the most. But here's the thing, sometimes too much sharing can actually do more harm than good. It's not about keeping secrets or shutting people out. It's about recognizing that certain matters are best kept private not from a place of mistrust, but from a place of wisdom and self-preservation. Protecting your own peace of mind and maintaining healthy relationships often means knowing when to speak and when to keep certain details to yourself. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 things you might want to keep to yourself after the age of 65. These aren't about building walls between you and your loved ones. They're about preserving your independence, avoiding unnecessary stress, and setting healthy personal boundaries. And here's the surprising part. You may actually find more freedom, clarity, and peace by keeping a few topics off the table. Stay with me until the end, because understanding these 5 points could completely change the way you interact with your family in your later years. Let's start with the first one, financial decisions and assets. Money is one of the most sensitive topics as we age. You might think that being completely open about your financial situation with your children or other family members will prevent misunderstandings. The idea is that if everyone knows exactly where you stand, your savings, investments, retirement accounts, and even what you've set aside for the future, there will be fewer surprises later on. But in reality, that level of openness often leads to more complications than solutions. When family members know every detail of your finances, you may start getting unsolicited advice or even subtle pressure to make decisions you're not entirely comfortable with. Different generations often have different attitudes toward money. What you see as stability, they might see as caution or even waste. And while many loved ones truly mean well, their helpful suggestions can begin to feel like interference in your personal choices. In some cases, people who were once distant might suddenly take a greater interest in your affairs once they realize what you have financially. Perhaps you've seen it happen to a friend. A casual conversation about retirement plans turns into constant questioning about every financial decision they make. Suddenly, they're being told to downsize, invest differently, or prioritize setting aside more for the grandchildren. Now, there's nothing wrong with asking for advice when you truly want it. But when family members begin to think they have a say in how you manage your own money, it can quickly become exhausting. And here's the hard truth. Once you open that door and share your full financial picture, you can't close it again. That information is out there forever, and it changes the way people see your choices. There's also the issue of personal control. If your family starts viewing you as someone who isn't making smart decisions, they may feel justified in stepping in sometimes with the best of intentions, but not always in ways that serve you well. Maintaining a level of privacy about your finances isn't about being secretive. It's about ensuring that you remain the one in charge of your own life and decisions, without unnecessary outside pressure. When it comes to finances, it's always important to approach the topic in a way that respects your independence. Yet, the moment family members know details about your money, you might start hearing comments like, "Are you sure you should be spending that much?" Or, "Wouldn't it be smarter to give some of that away now instead of later?" And even if no one is directly pressuring you, just knowing that others are watching, evaluating, and sometimes quietly judging your choices can make you feel uneasy. This doesn't mean you should avoid financial conversations altogether. It's wise to have clear estate plans, to let your loved ones know where important documents are kept, and to share the details that truly matter when the timing is right. But you are under no obligation to reveal everything. The exact amount you have in your savings, the cost of a recent trip you treated yourself to, or the fact that you made a new investment, these are your decisions to manage. If keeping certain financial details private allows you to enjoy your life without unsolicited opinions or subtle pressure, then that's not secrecy. That's wisdom. You've earned the right to live your life without feeling like every personal choice is under a microscope. Number 2, health concerns that aren't urgent. As we get older, it's natural for health issues to crop up. A stiff back in the morning, occasional joint pain, a little more fatigue after a busy day, these things happen. And because our families care about us, there's often a strong temptation to share every little ache, pain, or discomfort. After all, it feels good to be cared for, and we want our loved ones to know what's going on with us. But here's the distinction. There's a big difference between keeping family members informed about truly important medical matters and overwhelming them with every minor issue. When you bring up every small symptom, even those that are temporary or mild, you can unintentionally create worry and stress. And that worry can sometimes snowball into something else, family members stepping in to make decisions for you before it's actually necessary. You may have experienced it yourself. You casually mention some knee soreness or feeling a little tired lately, and suddenly you're in the middle of a long discussion about doctors, diet changes, and new supplements you really should be taking. Younger family members often mean well, but their concern can quickly turn into pressure. Before you know it, they're researching treatments, making appointments on your behalf, or gently lecturing you about taking better care of yourself, as if you haven't been managing your own health for decades. There's also a subtle psychological effect at play. If you talk about health issues constantly, even the small ones, people may start seeing you as someone who's declining faster than you actually are. That perception can be hard to reverse. All of a sudden, they treat you differently, hesitating to invite you on trips, questioning whether you can handle certain activities, or suggesting you might need extra help at home. And all of this might have started because you casually mentioned that your knees ached after gardening. Of course, it's important to share major health concerns, especially when they impact your daily life or require family support. But keeping the small, manageable issues to yourself doesn't mean you're being dishonest. It means you're protecting your autonomy. You have every right to manage your health without unnecessary interventions, anxiety, or second-guessing from others. Sometimes, staying quiet is the most powerful way to maintain control over your own well-being. If you've made it this far and you're finding these insights valuable, type number 2 in the comments below so I know you're here. And if you haven't already subscribed, now's the perfect time. Turn on that notification bell so you never miss a video that's designed to inform, inspire, and help you make the most of your later years. Number 3, your true thoughts on family conflicts. By the time we've reached our 52nd, 62nd, or beyond, we've all learned something about family dynamics. They can be messy, unpredictable, and, at times, exhausting. We often find ourselves caught in the middle of situations we never asked to be part of. Siblings arguing over an inheritance, adult children holding grudges from years ago, or extended relatives who simply don't get along. These scenarios happen in nearly every family, no matter how close-knit things may appear on the surface. When you've lived long enough, you start to recognize the patterns. Old wounds have a way of resurfacing, and history often repeats itself in ways that feel all too familiar. It's tempting, almost instinctive, to step in, offer advice, or share exactly what you think about who's right and who's wrong. But more often than not, doing so only adds fuel to the fire. Maybe you've experienced this. You try to mediate a dispute with the best of intentions, only to have both sides suddenly turn against you. Or perhaps you offer a strong opinion, thinking you're helping, but later realize your words were taken out of context, or worse, held against you. The hard truth is, most family conflicts will resolve themselves, or they won't too. And whether or not they do, your input often has little impact on the outcome. There's another reality to keep in mind. When people eventually move on, they rarely forget what was said in the heat of the moment. If you took sides or expressed a strong opinion, even after the argument is long forgotten, the resentment toward you can linger. This is especially true when it involves younger family members. Sharing what you really think about a son-in-law, a daughter's parenting style, or a relative's life choices might feel honest in the moment, but those words have a way of sticking. People remember when they feel judged or criticized, even if your intention was to help. What feels like constructive advice to you might sound like rejection to them, and that can create emotional distance that never quite heals. One of the wisest habits you can develop after 65 is the practice of selective silence. You don't have to agree with everything you see, and you certainly don't have to pretend problems don't exist. But you also don't have to comment on every situation. Sometimes, the best response is something neutral yet supportive, like, "I hope things work out for the best," or "I trust you'll make the right decision." These kinds of statements allow you to remain connected and caring without getting pulled into a conflict that ultimately isn't yours to fix. At the end of the day, keeping certain opinions to yourself isn't about being disengaged. It's about protecting your peace, maintaining harmony, and letting your family work out their own challenges without you becoming part of the tension. Number 4, your regrets about the past. As the years pass, it's natural to look back on your life, on the choices you made, the opportunities you missed, and the paths you didn't take. Regret is part of the human experience, and almost everyone feels it in one way or another. But that doesn't mean every regret needs to be shared, especially with family. You may feel an urge to talk openly about things you wish you'd done differently, how you handled your career, the way you raised your children, or decisions that shaped the life you have now. To you, it might feel like honest self-reflection, but to your family, those same words can sometimes carry unintended weight. For example, if you say, "I wish I'd spent less time working and more time with my family," your children might hear, "I wasn't a good enough parent." If you mention, "I regret not moving to another city or pursuing that dream I had," they might interpret it as, "Life with you wasn't fulfilling enough." Even if that's not at all what you mean, those comments can linger in their minds, creating unnecessary guilt or resentment. The same is true when it comes to relationships. Talking about a past love, even casually, can leave your spouse or other family members feeling as though they were your second choice. Reflecting on friendships that faded away or people you've lost touch with can be perceived as longing for a life you didn't have, rather than appreciating the one you do. This doesn't mean you should never talk about your past. Sharing lessons learned, stories of resilience, and moments of joy can be incredibly valuable for your loved ones. But when it comes to regrets, especially those tied to your family, it's worth considering whether speaking them aloud will build connection or create distance. Sometimes, the wisest choice is to keep those reflections private, holding them as personal reminders of how you want to live the years ahead. Opportunities that slipped away have a way of reshaping how others see you. Instead of remembering the strong, capable, and resilient person they've always known, they might begin to see you as someone who's stuck in the past, someone holding on to what could have been. And that's not the legacy most of us want to leave. That's why certain regrets are best kept to yourself. It's perfectly fine to think about them, process them privately, and even learn valuable lessons from them. But dwelling on them in front of your family doesn't change what's already happened. In fact, more often than not, it simply places an emotional burden on the people who love you most. The past can't be rewritten, but the way you carry it forward is entirely up to you. You can choose to let it weigh you down, or you can choose to move forward with grace, gratitude, and purpose, focusing on the life you still have ahead rather than the moments that slipped away. If you're still with me and finding these insights helpful, go ahead and comment number 4 below so I know you're here. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. Your support allows us to keep creating thoughtful, inspiring content just for you. Number 5. The full extent of your financial situation. Money has always been one of the most complicated topics in any family. It can bring people together in moments of generosity and support, but it can also create misunderstandings, resentment, and even long-lasting conflict. As we get older, we may feel a growing need to be more open about our finances with our loved ones, whether it's sharing how much we've saved, what we intend to leave behind, or even admitting to financial struggles we're currently facing. While there are times when discussing certain financial matters is both wise and necessary, being too open can sometimes cause more harm than good. One of the biggest risks of revealing too much is that it can subtly change the way people treat you. If your family knows you have a comfortable nest egg, you might notice certain relatives looking at you differently, perhaps expecting financial help or dropping hints about what they hope to inherit someday. On the flip side, if you share that you're having financial difficulties, You might find your loved ones worrying excessively, or even questioning your decisions, whether you ask for their opinion or not. Either way, money has a way of shifting relationships, and once that shift happens, it's hard to reverse. There's also the question of independence. The more your family knows about your exact financial situation, the more they may feel entitled to offer advice or step in to make decisions on your behalf, often with the best of intentions, but not always in ways that respect your autonomy. You might suddenly be told where you should live, how you should spend your money, or what's best for you all because you shared details that, in hindsight, might have been better kept private. Of course, this doesn't mean you should keep everything a secret. If you have a trusted financial advisor, attorney, or designated executor for your estate, it's smart to have your plans documented clearly. In those cases, sharing essential information is important for your own protection and for ensuring your wishes are honored. But beyond those necessary arrangements, the safest approach is often to share only what's truly essential and nothing more. Keeping certain financial details to yourself allows you to maintain full control over your future, protect your independence, and avoid unnecessary stress, tension, or unsolicited advice. If you've ever noticed how quickly a conversation about money can change the tone of a relationship, you already understand why this is one of the most critical areas to handle with care. In the end, your finances are yours to manage. By keeping some details private, you help ensure that your relationships with your family are built on love, respect, and genuine connection, not on financial expectations. Final thoughts. As we wrap up this conversation, take a moment to reflect on the 5 things we've talked about today. Choosing to keep certain matters private isn't about hiding things or shutting people out, it's about protecting your peace, maintaining your independence, and preserving the healthiest possible relationships with the people you care about most. Life is too short to let unnecessary stress or conflict take away from the joy of your later years. By knowing what to share and what to keep to yourself, you give yourself and your loved ones the gift of harmony, respect, and peace of mind. Sometimes, keeping a little distance isn't about pushing people away. It's about protecting your peace, your dignity, and the health of your relationships. Not everything in life needs to be said out loud or shared with everyone. In fact, there's a quiet kind of wisdom in knowing when to hold something back. Think about your own life. Have you ever shared a deeply personal detail with a family member, only to notice later that it changed the way they looked at you? Or maybe you bit your tongue in a certain moment and, with time, realized it was the best decision you could have made. Experience has a way of teaching us these lessons, and with age comes the clarity to recognize them more quickly. One of the unexpected gifts of getting older is learning what truly matters: your peace of mind, your independence, and the quality of the connections you keep. Being intentional about what you choose to share helps you maintain control over your own story, while still keeping your relationships warm and meaningful. It's not about shutting people out. It's about preserving the trust, respect, and closeness that make those relationships worth having. Now, we'd love to hear from you. In the comments below, share one insight you took away from today's message and maybe a way you plan to put it into practice. Your experiences and perspectives mean a lot to us, and reading them gives us encouragement and inspiration to keep going. If you enjoyed this video and found it valuable, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might appreciate it. Your support helps us continue creating thoughtful content to inform, inspire, and uplift. Thank you for being here with us, and we look forward to spending time with you again in our next video.